A very good evening, Zimbabwe. You are listening to Studio 7 from the Voice of America in Washington. I am Kip Stube in Maryland, and this is LiveTalk.
And I'm Marvelous Mhlanganya. We are broadcasting from my home in Washington, D.C. this Friday, December the 18th, 2020, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, which is currently ravaging the whole world, including Zimbabwe, where we've seen figures rising in recent days.
Tonight on Studio 7 LiveTalk, we are talking about COVID-19, the COVID-19 pandemic, and several other issues that include the U.S. Elections. We know that President Donald Trump is still not consenting to, Joe Biden following an election that was held on the 3rd of November. So let's see what is happening in America. We will have some people analyzing that. And we also have Zimbabweans in different parts of the world talking about their experiences and the forthcoming festive season. So almost we're already in the festive season. So it's just a few days before Christmas. We'll talk about that. So Zulugandaba, linjani lapha likhona endaweni zonke ezitshiyeneyo. Namhlanje sikhuluma nge-COVID-19. Siyabona ukuthi sokulo abantu 11,866 kwele Zimbabwe asebanjwe i-COVID-19 kusukela ngoMbimbitho. Futhi kusithi-ke abayi-9,836 sebaphepha kumkhuhlane lo. Kuzobuya njalo asebabhubhayo i-314. Kuzokuthi-ke i-Johns Hopkins University ibika ukuthi sokulabantu abedlula 75 million asebanjwe i-COVID-19 emhlabeni wonke jikelele. Kuzokuthi abayi-1,665,474 sebabhubha. Siyabika njalo isibhedlela lesi ukuthi sokulabantu bedlula 17.2 million asebanjwe i-COVID-19 kwele Melika, kwabhubha abayi-310,806. So umkhuhlane lo uyamemetheka. Sibone njalo kubulawayo kuthiwa-ke umkhuhlane lo ungani kulabantu abaningi osibathwala senzima. Kuzokuthi eMinda High School kulama-students afika 20 asebanjwe i-COVID-19. So isikolo sesivalwe ngci khona ngale kungani kuyahlupha sibili. Marvelous, ungaqhubeka khona.
Tinokuchingamidza vese vari pachirongwa chedu cheLiveTalk nhasi musi weFriday kudai musi wechishanu December 18, 2020, apo tiri kuenderera mberi tichitaura pamusoro pedenda reCOVID-19 iro ratekeshera pasi rose, uyezve tichitarisa zviri kuitika panyaya dzezvematongerwo enyika nezvimwewo. Tichange zvakare tiine mukana kuti tinzwe kubva kune vamwe chiremba vanova chizvarwa cheZimbabwe vari muNew York, Dr. Monalisa Muchatuta, vari kutaura kuti ivo vakatobayiwa nhomba yeCOVID-19, uyezve vari kuti ivo vakambobatwa nedenda irori reCOVID-19. Saka pavakanzwa kuti nhomba yauya vakatowanikwa ivo vachiti izvi ndizvo zvaizokwanisira kuti vakwanise kunge vachishanda vachibatsirawo vamwe sezvo vanoshanda muchipatara. Uyezve vachitaura ivo kuti muguta reNew York vakaona vanhu vazhinji vachibatwa nedenda iri reCOVID-19 zvichisanganisirawo ivo. Tinotarisa kuti pasi rose pari zvino pane vanhu 74.6 million vabatwa nedenda iri reCOVID-19, pachiwanikwa pane 1.6 million vanhu vashaya. MuUnited States matiri kutepfenyura tiri pari zvino mune vanhu 17.2 million vabatwa nedenda reCOVID-19, 310,000 zvichidaudzira vakawanikwa ivo vachishaya. Izvi zviri kubva kuJohn Hopkins University Hospital iri muno muAmerica. Asi tinoona zvakare kuti muZimbabwe uwandu hwevanhu vari kubatwa neCOVID-19 uyezve vachishaya huri kuramba huchikwira. Pari zvino bazi rezveutano rinotaura iro kuti pane vanhu vanodaudzira 11,000 zvichikwira vabatwa neCOVID-19 uye 314 vakawanikwa ivo vachishaya. Saka ndo zvimwe zvatiri kutaura pazuva ranhasi kuti imi kana nhomba iyi yeCOVID-19 ikauya muchabayiwa here?
Marvelous. Let's start with the U.S. elections. We have got our two guests already lined up. That is Mr. Simba Muchuru and Mr. Musani Musontini. So let's start with you, Mr. Muchuru. Welcome to the program, sir.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me again. Thank you, and good to be here.
Thank you so much. So tell us, we see that there's still this wrangling over, the election outcome, and Democrats are saying there is no issue at all, but Mr. Donald Trump is still insisting that he was cheated in the elections. And the Supreme Court, remember, it made a ruling that they cannot handle that matter because they think it doesn't have any kind of good substance in it. So what's going on?
I think at this point now, it's mainly about the Constitution of the United States. That's where we are now. In the Constitution, it doesn't prescribe Donald Trump has to concede in any particular way. So now, since the Electoral College has voted, and we know that Biden is the president-elect, now it's just a matter of process and time, and he should take over as president on the 20th of January. I don't think there's more debate about that. However, I think generally, globally, people think that elections should be like a church convention where everything is nice and quiet, or a family reunion where everything is nice and quiet. Democracy on itself is supposed to be a little rowdy, a little noise, a little pulling, gustling of for positions. That's exactly what democracy is. What I'm watching for now going forward is, after Joe Biden becomes president on January 20th, is Donald Trump going to be a patriot? Is he going to be patriotic now to say, I wish the new president well, I wish the country well, I wish the country to go forward? That's what I'm watching now.
Fabulous.
Imi munoona pane zvipingaidzo here zvingazoitika ipapa, tichitarisa kuti pane vamwe vemarepublicans vari kutotaura ivo kuti January 6 ikasvika pachagarwa matare mamwe makuru, vachange vari kuramba vachipikisa chete kuti wavo mutungamiri wemarepublicans parizvino vaDonald Trump ndo vakakunda, uyezve havasi kubvumirana nezvakataurwa izvi neelectoral college.
Kukundwa musarudzo chinhu chinorwadza. Vateereri vese ngavazvinzwisise izvozvo kuti munhu kutozvitambira kuti takakundwa panotora nguva. Saka inini ndikoti ngativapei nguva yekuzvitambira. Kana vari kumboramba vanomboramba zvavo, asi hazvitadzise asarudzwa munyowani kugara pachigaro cheutungamiriri. Izvi zviri kuendera nekuti vachiri kurwadziwa chete kuti vakakundwa, havana kuwina muelection. But from a constitutional standpoint, kana bumbiro remutemo, hapana chavanokwanisa kuita izvozvo kuti vachipindura zvakataurwa nevanhu.
Imi munoona pane makakatanwa here achaitwa pasati pagadzwa vaJoe Biden nemusi waJanuary 20, uyezve muri kuona sei vanhu vari kudomwa naivo vaJoe Biden semakurukota avo parizvino?
Kutaura kucharamba pane mutauro, my-election ka zvanambotaura zviya zvekuti zvasiyana nekuita gathering yechechi. My-election hakuna, in democracy there's no segmentation system yekuti qualification, gender or anything. Vanhu vese vari mupoti imwe chete. Saka ikoko ndozvinoitisa kuti kuite mutauro iwowo. Saka mutauro ndodaira kuti mutauro uchave uriko even after January 20th, vamwe vacharamba vachitaura chete. Ndo democracy yacho. Pane vanhu vari kusarudzwa navaJoe Biden, inini ndinotaura kuti mutungamiri kana achinge ahwina sarudzo kudai, ngaapiwe vanhu vaanofunga kuti vanobatsira kugavhena nyika. Takamupa vanhu vaanenge achida iye, akazokundikana hunge akundika pamusoro, hatidi kuti azodzoka achiti ndakundikana nekuti makandipa vanhu vanga ndisingade. Mukuru ngaapiwe vanhu kana kusarudza vanhu vaanofunga kuti anovabatsira kuitira kuti nyika itongeke zvakanaka.
Kupanyaya yedenda iri reCovid-19 ratekeshera imo muno muAmerica nepasi rose, munoona vaJoe Biden vachizokwanisa here kuti vagadzirise zviri kuitika parizvino?
Handiona nge zvinogadziriswa nemunhu mumwe chete, nekuti denda iri riri kubata vanhu vakasiyana siyana kunzvimbo dzakasiyana siyana dzenyika. Vamwe vari kumaruva, vamwe vari mumaguta, vamwe vachembera, vamwe vana vadiki. Mukuru Joe Biden anofanira kungokurudzira munhu wese kuti munhu wese pese pauri ipapo, ita zvinokubatsira kuti denda iri risakanganisa iwe nemhuri yako. Tese takaita izvozvo pamwe chete ndokuti tikunde denda iro riri.
Now, looking at what is happening in the USA, Mr. Mjuru, we have observed that there are certain Republicans who are saying that maybe they are going to disrupt the counting of the electoral votes, come January 6th. What's your take on that?
I think they're just talking. I think the United States is the biggest democracy, or the oldest democracy in the world. They've been doing this for over 200 years. They've got a lot of experience, unlike us Zimbabweans who've only been doing it for 40 years. So, and if you look at in the House too, because we're primarily talking about what's going to happen in the House, the Democrats control the House. Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the House. She's the leader of the House. She sets the tone. She sets the agenda. She sets everything. So I think at this particular time, it's just talk. When it really comes down to it, I want to believe Americans are more patriotic than what seems to be going on right now. At the end of the day, America is going to be above individual feelings right now. That's my belief.
Let's bring in independent political commentator, Mr. Musani Mbusontini. Mr. Ntini, welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, Dore. How are you?
No, very fine. How is New York?
No, it's getting cold. It's
No.
winter time.
Oh, yes. Get close to your mic so that we can hear you very properly. So now give us your take on what is happening in terms of the US elections and where do you think all this is going?
No, I agree with Mr. Mujuru that I think, there is nothing really that can derail the train at this point. I think the Biden and Harris train is on the move. I don't see anything that can derail the train. Of course, we cannot expect Donald Trump or other Republicans to go quietly. They're going to make as much noise as they can, but I don't foresee any issues. Yes, on January 6th, during the counting of the electoral votes, there may be a few people that may, object, but I don't think they'll be successful in that. It will just be interesting to see how normal and peaceful that counting will be.
So give us a timeline, starting with today, going onwards. Give us just a timeline on what is going to happen, in terms of, the counting of the electoral votes and all those kind of things.
I believe by December 23rd, all the votes that were done, at the different, at the state level, should arrive in DC. And then on January 6th, that's when Congress and the House will actually meet to actually count the votes and verify the voting of the Electoral College. I mean, we already know how they voted. So now really, normally what they should be doing is counting and verifying the votes. And after that, we move on to January 20th for the inauguration. There shouldn't be anything else really remaining between now and January 6th.
Yes, cela ufake ngesindebele khonokho ukuthi ubona ngani ukhetho kuhamba njani khona manje nxasikhathi lemelika.
Ukhetho lwemelika mbonani sesifike emaphethelweni, ama-courts asekhangelile wonke ama-cases alethwe ngu-Trump lamanye ama-Republican lamanye ama-individuals. Ngibona ngalesi sikhathi njalo le-Electoral College isivotile. Osokusele khathesi ukuthi la mavoti e-Electoral College athunyelwe eWashington DC okwenzela ukuthi ngoJanuary 6 ngo-2021 amavoti lana evalwe, then i-Congress le-House bebe sefaka istamp ukuthi ayibavumelana lendlela i-Electoral College eyavota ngayo. Ngiboni kungaba lohlupho olungaba khona. Yebo, ama-Republican labanye abaka-Trump bengakhuluma benza umsindo, kodwa ngokubona kwami hayi, khathesi vele ilanga esesilikhangele ngoJanuary 20 2021 lapho kuzafakwa khona umongameli omutsha uBiden lo-Vice President uKamala Harris.
Kunjalo-ke, Marvelous.
Tinoona kuti vamwe vatevedzeri vaDonald Trump uyezve nevamwe vari kutaura kuti ivo pachange pari kugadzwa vaJoe Biden, ivo vanenge vane mabiko avo pamwewo panzvimbo. Tingaone izvi zvichizokanganisa here kugadzwa kwavaBiden? Vamujuru?
No, not at all. Azvikanganise ma-proceedings, azvikanganise takeover of government. Vamwe vese vanenge vachida kuita zvavanenge vachida kuita. Kana inini kana ndiri kumba kwangu ndakadecide ndoda kubika musi iwowo ndodedza hama neshamwari, azvikanganise President-elect Biden from becoming president. I think at this particular moment, it's safe to say on January 20th, 2021, Joe Biden at about noon is going to be the president. Nothing's going to stop that.
And what are you hearing from other countries, outside of the United States, especially Africa and Zimbabwe in particular, regarding what we're seeing happening here? Is this democracy, or what exactly are people saying?
People are talking, and most from what I'm hearing, people are surprised to say why is Donald Trump not conceding quickly. The one good way to look at it is to say I don't like him personally, so he should concede. That's an opinion. again, like I said earlier on, in the Constitution itself, he's not required to do any of the things that people expect him to do. So, in terms of being constitutional, he's not breaking the Constitution in any way. There's no law against acting the way he's acting. But like I said earlier on, from a democratic standpoint, in a democracy, you've got a mixture of different personalities. Each person is going to take laws differently. Each president or ex-president is going to act in a different manner. That's part and parcel of democracy. However, I want to add and say this: there's one thing that I'm looking forward to seeing. The first State of the Union that Joe Biden is going to give for the American history, we're going to see 2 women sitting behind him. I think that's a big thing for women going forward, because Nancy Pelosi as leader of the House and Kamala as president of the Senate, I think in putting things into perspective, that's a huge accomplishment for women. And I think all women should be proud of that at this particular moment.
What are you hearing, especially from African countries, regarding the actual selection of Kamala Harris as the deputy for Mr. Biden?
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Can you ask me the question again?
Ndiri kuti kubva kunyika dziri kuAfrica vari kutambirawo sei kusarudzwa kwaamai Kamala Harris semutevedzeri wavaBiden semudzimai?
From what I'm hearing, and I'm not hearing from, like I said, I don't know a lot of people, so I can't claim to talk for the entire Africa. I think we don't know her yet. Remember, this is new to a lot of people. We've never had a female vice president before. We don't know what it means, the impact of it. We're excited about it simply because this is a reflection of the times. I mean, women are almost 50% of the world's population. So this is now reflecting where we are as people. This is now an era where women don't have limitations anymore. So in that excitement, some people are anxious. So she really has to take the lead, I think, and set a tone and say, this is the kind of person I am, the way she talks to us. I hope as a Zimbabwean and also as a supporter of ZANU-PF, I'm hoping that she comes and talk to us in a different tone than what men have done in the past. You sit at the table with us, have a conversation with us. I think most of the global problems, if you ask me, can be solved by women, just as long as we embrace their ideas, their thought process, and give them the seat at the table like they are rightfully supposed to have.
But indications of that, Mr. Mchuru, Mr. Joe Biden, if he's, if he takes the office of the president, he's going to change a lot of policies. One, immigration. Secondly, climate change and all those kind of things. Do those things have any impact on you as an individual?
Oh, absolutely. Because Joe Biden becomes the leader of the country and of those who like to say president of the free world, which means by a stroke of a pen, he can change a lot of things, especially when it comes to federal law. Like I'll give you a good example, that DACA policy that is going to change on day 1, that affects people on that day. So this is why even the Bible says you've got to pray for your president, because they make decisions every day that ultimately affect you personally every single day. So yeah, that's why I am deep down rooting for his success, that he becomes a good president, because him being a good president actually touches me, touches my children, it touches my life every day because I live here in the United States.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ntini, so do you see any policy changes that are coming, especially when we look at Africa, if Mr. Joe Biden becomes the new president in January, what are the changes that you expect for Africa, specifically Zimbabwe? Any changes?
I don't foresee that many changes for Zimbabwe. If anything, I think things may get harder for Zimbabwe, especially the government of this present day in Zimbabwe, because we are fully aware that Biden was one of the sponsors of the DACA program. So I have a feeling that maybe Zimbabwe is going to be in trouble, meaning the government of Zimbabwe. But I think the people of Zimbabwe may win by having a person like Biden, leading, the USA. I'm hoping that, there will be a sit down, where the government of Zimbabwe and those that represent the USA can sit down and iron out things, because people of Zimbabwe have suffered enough. I mean, sanctions are there, they are targeted, we are fully aware of that, but I think sanctions are not good for anyone. hopefully they will sit down and come up with a roadmap. I know there's already a roadmap of how Zimbabwe can reform and and be able to come out of all this mess that we're in, or even the targeted sanctions. So I'm hoping that Biden, and his administration will be able to sit with the Harare government and pretty much iron out all the differences and see where we can go. Because I mean, definitely Zimbabwe needs the USA, and maybe to some they may say USA needs Zimbabwe as well. So the sooner they can resolve their differences, I think the better for all.
Yes, Kolufake ngesintu konoko mfowethu.
Ngombono wami ngibona ngani uBiden kasoze atshintshe into eziningi, ikakhulu ubudlelwane phakathi kweZimbabwe le-USA. But ngibona ngani i-government yeZimbabwe uma iqhubeka isenza ekwenzayo namhlanje, ngibona ngani engxenye ayisoze ibe sendaweni enhle, ibe lobudlelwano obuhle le-administration kaBiden. Mina kodwa isifiso sami ukuthi bani bayahlangana ama-government omabili belungise lapho ongabe bephikisana khona, ikakhulu indaba yama-sanction. Yazi ukuthi ngama-targeted sanction, kodwa lewo nama-sanction whether a-targeted kumbe a-generally ayisonto elungileyo. Ngiyazi ukuthi kule trickle down effect, so agcina kwesinye isikhathi ethinta wonke umuntu. But iqiniso ukuthi eleZimbabwe kumele sibili li-reforme laze likwanise ukuthi i-roadmap esethwe aside i-USA ezidera bayenza lokho kumele bekwenza.
Yes, siyakuzwa kakhulu-ke. Sicela ubambe khonapho ungayindawo Marvelous.
Tombodzokera kwamuri vamujuru. Munoona hurumende yeAmerica ichizosandura here kudyidzana kwavo neZimbabwe. Takatarisa kuti vari kutaura kuti ivo Zimbabwe inofanira kugadzirisa zvimwe zviga kuti ivo vazokwanisa kubvisa zvirango zvakatemerwa nyika yeZimbabwe. Pasi pavaBiden munoona pane zvichasanduka here?
Can I answer that, Nambotanga? I want to add on to what the previous caller said.
You can go ahead, it's fine.
And we always talk about sanctions being targeted, which I personally disagree with, and here's why I disagree with it. On paper, yes. But if you look at the law, the legislation itself called ZIDERA, the first letters of ZIDERA is ZI or ZI, like what you say in Zimbabwe. That ZI stands for Zimbabwe. So for the notion for us to say the law itself starts with Zimbabwe, then we turn around and say they're targeted, it's almost like we're contradicting ourselves. The bottom line is that these sanctions are targeted as a country as a whole, right? But on paper, we say it differently. When it comes to President Biden coming into power, I said this before. He said that let's give each other a chance. It's a fresh start. That's a good thing about change of leadership. A new leader comes in with his own agenda. And I think the weight of the country now is on his shoulders for the first time. So President-elect Biden is no longer a senator, is no longer a vice president, is no longer all these things he was in the past. He is now going to be the sitting president. He's now going to have the weight of the office on his shoulders. So taking that into perspective, and he says, give me a chance. Yes, let's give him a chance. One of our things for people like me in the United States are going to be talking to him about in terms of any dialogue or any opportunity we get is for ZIDERA to be lifted and for these sanctions to be taken away so we can normalize the relationship. So when it comes to him saying, give me a chance, I believe let's give him a chance, and hopefully we'll all prevail, sanctions will be lifted, and the relationship goes back to where it was in the 80s. Sorry.
Munogona kutaura nerurimi rwamai kuti munoona pane zvichasanduka here pakati peukama weZimbabwe neAmerica pasi pavaBiden?
Joe Biden semutungamiriri munyowani ari kupinda pachigaro. Kana ave akutonga ave pachigaro, zvese zvinonetsa nyika zvinoya kwaari kuti iye achive munhu anotonga agadzirisa. Paakapinda iye akataura kuti ndipei mukana, kana nchinge ndapinda imomo ndomboongorora kuti chii chiri kuitika, then ndozotanga kugadzirisa zvinhu. ndinodayira kuti paiti ndipe mukana ipapapo aitaura nyangwe nesusu tinoda kuti zidhera ibviswe kuti zvo achapatarisawo oona kuti zvo zidhera iyi iri kukanganisa vana vese vemuzimbabwe and inofanirwa kubviswa.
Asi muri kuita here kuti mugadzirise zviga imi veZANU-PF zvakadeedzerwa nehurumende yeAmerica?
Let's start by saying kuti zvo America is a government that has got its own government, and Zimbabwe has got its own government. Some of the things that the government is working on right now in Zimbabwe especially are things that the president has talked about in multiple occasions, that these reforms need to be done. We're talking about the laws that were affecting journalists and stuff like that. The president was talking about those way before even Joe Biden became elected. So in terms of enhancing our own laws, we are working on that. In terms of opening up the media space, as you know, that a few more licenses were issued, some media laws were repealed. So we are fixing things that we need to fix as a country. Yes.
Thank you so much. I think Mr. Mchuru requested that he should be here for a few minutes. So now, can you say your last word?
Thank you again for having me on the show again. Again, I'm a big fan of saying, let's pray for those in power. Let's pray for those with the responsibility of leadership. So we're going to pray for Joe Biden. We're going to pray for President Mnangagwa. Again, we want God to bless them and obviously help us bridge the relationship that we need to do. And also going forward, Merry Christmas to all of you and Merry Christmas to your viewers as well.
Mombotaura nerurimi rwamai kuti mazwi enyu ekupedzisira ndeapi sechizvarwa cheZimbabwe chiri muno muAmerica uyezve muri nhengo yeZANU-PF?
Mazwi angu ekupedzisira ngekuti zvo hama neshamwari ngatinamatirei vanotonga kubvira ivo vaJoe Biden vari kupinda ivava kuti vachitonga muAmerica naPresident Mnangagwa vari kuZimbabwe vari kutonga muZimbabwe, ngativanamatirei. Kana bhaibheri chairo rinotaura kuti namatirai vanhu vanokutongai kuitira kuti Mwari avabatsire mubasa ravanoita. Mukunamata imomo tinonamata zvakare kuti zvo ivo vaJoe Biden navaMnangagwa pamwe vachagara pasi vogadzirisa nyaya yezidhera kuti zidhera iite sei ibve, nekuti zidhera iri kukanganisa zvizvarwa zveZimbabwe zvakawanda.
Aiwa, tinotenda kuti manga muine sipo pano. Maybe musati maenda zvenyu mombotaura panyaya yeCovid-19 muri kuionawo sei?
Nyaya yeCovid-19 ndachimbotarisa manumbers achona nhasi kuseni kuti America iri kutaura kuti ine 17 million or so people vari infected, over 300,000 vakashaya. 17 million, if you put it in perspective, is almost the entire population of Zimbabwe. So that just kind of like makes us look at it from a different angle. Kuti tione kuti sisi kuZimbabwe takakomborerwa sei kana tiri kuti manumbers edu, even though we can do better, but our numbers are not as high as other parts of the world. So we continue to pray that these vaccines will eventually stop this, so that we don't have serious cases. And also we pray for people affected here in America. Vakafirwa nehama tinowanamatira kuti vanyaradzwe naMwari futi, because denda iri is a very unfortunate thing for everybody globally.
Aiwa, tiri panyaya yevaccine iyoyo tikutoona pane vamwe chiremba veku-New York, Dr. Mona Lisa Muchatuta vari kuti ivo vakatowanikwa vachipiwa vaccine iyi mazuva 2 apfuura. Imi munoona sei nyaya yevaccine iyi?
Inini handisi chiremba, asi personal opinion yangu ndeyekuti zvo vanokwanisa kuwana vaccine torai kana muchinge makwanisa kuiwana, and ndochema kuti hama dzedu dziri kuAfrica dzikurumidzewo kuiwana vaccine as soon as possible, because we can't run away from medicine. Hatingatize kana vanokwanisa kurapa ana mazvikokota ekurapa vati zvo vawana chinhu chinokwanisa kubatsira padenda iri, ngatichitambire nemaoko mairi.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Saka potanga tiri kunzwa kubva kuna vasimba mujuru vanova ivo chizvarwa cheZimbabwe chiri muno vari kuOhio, uyezve apo tiri kuona Dr. Mona Lisa vari kutaura ivo vari kuNew York. Regai timbonzwa, let's hear from her about how she took the COVID-19 vaccine after she also had contracted COVID-19 earlier on.
Just got my coronavirus vaccine, as you can tell from this beautiful I got vaccinated sticker. I got the Pfizer vaccine at my job today. I feel extremely privileged and a strong sense of relief that this vaccine is finally here. I know there are a lot of people that felt or are still feeling a bit of trepidation around getting this vaccine, but I'll tell you that I feel relief. COVID has been is scary. What we've seen in the hospitals was scary. And this decision was an easy decision for me because after they proved to me that the side effect profile and 95% benefit for this vaccine, there was no choice for me but to take it. And I'm extremely happy and extremely grateful to have gotten it. I feel good. I am one of those doctors that's afraid of needles. So there was a little bit of drama with just getting the needle in my arm. But like I said, if I could get it in my eye, I would have, because this was a no-brainer. I'm happy to talk to anybody that's still worried. Text me, call me, email me, and we'll talk more. I feel good. Talk to you soon. Christmas came early, you guys. I'm just overwhelmed with happiness and relief.
Yes, Marvelous. You can say something about it.
Yeah, we're hearing there from Dr. Mona Lisa Muchatuta. She's actually a Zimbabwean young lady, doctor based in New York. So she also contracted COVID-19 earlier on in the year. She works in the ER. So she was saying for her, the COVID-19 couldn't have come at a better time. But we will be talking to her later on to just also find out that, after a day or two of taking the vaccine, how is she feeling? But from the conversation I had with her, she said there are a lot of myths out there, and people need to actually ask their medical doctors or medical professionals not to use the information that people are pushing on WhatsApp, because she said she's aware that people are saying this vaccine is demonic. Some are alleging that it's 5G. Some are alleging it's the mark of the beast. She did talk about a lot of the myths that people are actually pushing. But her own advice was that it's important for you to research on the vaccine and also to just learn about what the benefits are. Because from her, she says the benefits far outweigh what, the other people are saying are the negatives of the vaccine.
Yes, Marvelous. We know that, in Zimbabwe, there are so many things that are happening right now. People are preparing for Christmas, one. And secondly, there's some Zimbabweans living in different countries. And we've got now Nomalanga Vivian Pepe. She's in Israel, doing whatever she's doing there. She's one person that we always talk to, and she's very pragmatic about the situation in Zimbabwe. So let's talk to her a little bit about her plans, So welcome to the program, Miss Pepe.
Thank you.
So are you planning to go home?
No. With the current situation, Dube, even if I were to go home, I mean, it's just not practical right now.
Why?
Like, if you look at it, the expenditure back home, like, things doesn't look good back home. So even if, especially for us, people from outside, like, there's a lot of things. It's either you go there and then you may not be able to go out after going home. All those things, like, things at home are just not okay. So how can I put it? Like, you see, there's a lot that they are demanding. As it is right now, if you look at people who will be going home, maybe from neighboring countries like South Africa, Botswana, right now the fee is being pegged at like $60 just for that letter, whether they call it a letter or test, that you don't have the COVID. And then it's suspected that when they go back after the holidays, the fees might go up again. Imagine if you went there maybe as a family of 5 or 6, you pay $60 per person, and then when you're going back, you find that they're telling you maybe $80 or $100 per person. I mean, that's a lot. You know, the problem at home is I don't know, they don't value other currencies, especially the US. So even $60 alone, if you look at it, for people mostly who go there to make a living, because they go to South Africa to stock things and go back home, that's $60 alone per trip. I feel is a lot, because I think that's somebody's profit already. So for you to peg it at $60, that's a lot. So I think those are some of the things that will make me think twice before thinking of even going home.
Sicela ufake nje ngesintu khonokho-ke ngamafishane mama.
Indlela izinto ezenzakala ngakhona eZimbabwe, ngendlela abantu abakhuluma ngayo ukuthi isimo sezinto zingakhona. I've spoken with abantu abaningi abangitshela ukuthi even ama-prices izinto ziyadlula, izinto zikhwelile emalangeni. And then usucabanga ukuthi kathesi kuthiwa ukuthi uye eSouth Africa ubhadala $60. So alright, laba bazahamba ekhaya babhadale ke leyo mali njengoba ehlelweni oludlulileyo osisi bebekhuluma ukuthi bahlukane lezi mali ezingakanani. So mangabe umuntu onjalo udecide ukuthi usebuyele emsebenzini ngoJanuary, uyayibona nje into yakhona ukuthi vele bazokhweza izimali ngoba bazokuthi abantu abala choice.
I think network yakho
Babhadale yona le imali abazobe beyitsho, and it's a lot of money.
Yes, yakuzwa kakhulu.
And abantu abayitholi leyo mali leyo right now nge-situation ye-corona le, abantu vele kabala mali. So ukuthi kucharge imali ezingako already, it's a lot.
Aha. Sicela ubambe khonapho ungayikatana sibuyele kuba Buntini ngamafitani. Babuntini, akusitshela ukuthi wena ngokubona kwakho ubona ngani eMelika kuzahamba njani xa sikhangele khonokho-ke ukuthi ukhetho kungani bakhona bazaphikisa khona ngale ku-House of ku-Congress. So ngicela ufake ngesikhiwa sibe sesibuyela-ke sitshaye ngesindebele ngamafitshane sibe sesingena kwabanye.
Mr. Dube, as I indicated earlier on, I think now the roadmap is clear. I don't think there will be any issues here at all. I mean, people make noise, but I don't think their noise will go that far. I think right now, really, we are looking for January 20th, inauguration, VP elect, President-elect, or VP-elect. Biden or Harris.
Oh yes, so hold on there. I think we are joined by Mr. Tawanda Sokora. Mr. Tawanda Sokora lives here in USA. So briefly, Mr. Tawanda Sokora, how do you see America going, in terms of what is going on right now? We see that Mr. Donald Trump is still insisting that he actually won the election. So what's your take on that, just briefly? Mr. Sokora? So I think Mr. Sokora can't hear me there. So let me hold on there so that we'll cue him in as we go. So I think Marvelous is there now. Maybe talk to Mr. Sokora because I guess he can't hear me. I've been trying to cue him in, but he can't hear me. Can you try him? Maybe it can work.
Hello, Mr. Jokora. Murukutinzwere.
Yes, I can hear you now. Magadi tete Marvelous. Magadi watere.
Aiwa tiri wadi. Tombotarisa zviri kuitika imo muno muAmerica panyaya ye-US election kana kuti sarudzo dzemuno. Imi sebato re-MDC Alliance munoona sei kupinda kwavaBiden uyezve nemakakatanwa pari zvino achiripo vaTrump pari zvino havasati vawanikwa ivo vachisiya matombo kuti aiwa vaBiden ndo vakakunda pari zvino. Muri kuona sei izvi?
Aiwa, isu takambouya pachirongwa tikataura kuti America ndo mhizha dzekutonga kwegutsa ruzhinji inoti kana kuti democracy. Saka tiri kuona kuti vanhu veAmerica vari kunyatsoratidza kuti ndo vanodzidzisa nyika dzese democracy nezviri kuitika izvi. Takataura kuti vanhu vakasarudza munhu wavakasarudza ende tichaona vaBiden vachipinda pakutonga nyika yeAmerica nekuti ndo zvinoita democracy. kana vanhu vasarudza munhu wavanenge vasarudza ndiye munhu anofanira kutonga. Saka tiri kuona zvedu zvinhu zvichifamba zvakanaka kusvika musi wa20 pachazopinzwa vaBiden panyanga kuti vachinyatsoita chaizvo chaizvo zvinenge zvichitaurwa kuti sarudzo dzakabirwa muAmerica. Manakira azvakaita ndeyekuti vanhu vanopiwa kodzero dzekuenda kunopikisa kumatare edzimhosva, zoongororwa, matare edzimhosva otonga asina kwaakarerekera, zvisina kuti uyo ndingana, uyo mutungamiriri. Zvakanyatsoratidza nyika yose kuti ndo zvinofanirwa kuitwa nenyika dzose dzepasi rose. Asiwo tichitaura kudaro, isu sebato reMDC toda kutenda vaTrump nevamwe vose vavaishanda navo nemashandiro atakaita makore 5 avanga vari pava. Vakanyatsogona, hapana pavakakanganisa, vari kuenda tichivafarira. Asi zvakare tinotambirawo vaBiden tichiti ndivo vakatanga nyaya idzi dzekuti vanhu havafaniri kurovana, kutukana kana kupondana. Kuma1970s chaivo chaivo ndo vakatanga vanonyatsoiziva nhoroondo yeZimbabwe. Saka tinotarisira kuti tichashanda navo zvakare zvakanaka.
Maybe just give us your take on what is going on in America right now. We see the Republicans, up until they say January 6th, that they are actually going to be in Congress. They might actually be, opposing what the Electoral College has passed, that Mr. Biden is the one who is now going to be sworn in as the president of America, because they are still believing that their candidate, Mr. Donald Trump, got a raw deal. What's your comment on that? Is this democracy at play, or what are we seeing happening?
It's democracy at play, and they have shown to the world that democracy works, that the will of the people must always prevail, and the will of the people will always prevail in America. This is a rich tradition that has been followed by Americans for over 200 years, that you give power whenever you lose elections. And this is what happened. They had an election, there were complaints here and there, and the good thing about American democracy is everyone is entertained. You are given your opportunity to go to court, and you are heard in court, and the courts are free and fair. They don't care who you are. They don't care that you are the president of America. It is the law, it is the constitution that is used. And we have seen it, that America is indeed the epitome of democracy. The will of the people has been allowed to prevail, and we're going to see the inauguration of Mr. Joe Biden on 20 January. And but before I go, I just want to thank again the Trump administration for the way and manner we worked with them as MDC Alliance, and the manner that they stood with the people of Zimbabwe, not necessarily standing with people that are diminishing people's rights, that are persecuting the whole country. They decided to stand with the people of Zimbabwe, and we expect that to continue with the Joe Biden administration.
So are you not expecting any policy changes? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Do you expect any policy changes in Zimbabwe when the new administration comes in?
I don't think there will be any major policy changes, because the issues that made the police of the United States of America, especially Zidera, to be put in place, those issues have not been resolved. The issues to do with the rule of law, the issues to do with the people's human rights and corruption, they are still existing. So until the Zimbabwean government decides to stop arresting people arbitrarily and killing people willy-nilly in the streets, I don't think there will be any major change in as far as the United States is concerned.
Thank you very much, and have a very lovely weekend. Thank you so much, sir.
Maybe let me just ask one question about COVID-19, because I know where you are there in Dakota, it's really, the numbers have been going up. What is the situation now? We see that there's this vaccine coming up. We've seen some doctors, being inoculated the COVID-19 vaccine. What's the situation in North Dakota where you are?
Well, the situation in North Dakota is very bad. It's very scary. We don't even have any hospital beds left. The COVID-19 numbers are going up every day. And it's, of course, because of what the people here believe, that, it's not as bad as that. But actually, it's very bad.
But
And
do you see that changing with the coming in of Mr. Joe Biden of the Democrats?
yeah, because if people listen to the people at the top, they listen to their president. So if Mr. Biden begin to talk about wearing mask or about going to get the vaccine, I believe there will be some people who will begin to listen to him. And of course, I'll be the first one to listen to him. If he says, let's go and get the vaccine, I'll be the first in the line to get that vaccine.
Taureni Shona Tinzwe, pakanzi vaccine nomba yavako ikoko kwamuri kuNorth Dakota, muchaita sei?
Nemafiro ari kuita vanhu kunoku nezviri kuitika kunoku kuzvipatara zvakazara. Vana vangu inini manesi vanouya vachindiudza zvese zviri kuitika. Saka panonzi pakuitwa nhomba, ndotonge ndiritoripo pamberi papo, ndotongobayiwa nhomba yacho nekuti unogona kungofa wakatarisa.
Thank you very much, and have a very lovely weekend. Siyabonga, tatenda baba.
Right, thank you.
So let's go to Zimbabwe now, where we know that marvelous some community radio stations were issued licenses. So we've got Pelagia Kapuya, who is the chairperson of the Zimbabwe Community Radio Stations Association. So let's hear what she says about the issuing of these licenses.
17 December 2020, which was last night, the authority announced the granting of community radio licenses to the Mbembesi Development Trust, Tepe Manama Community Radio Trust, and Nyangani Community Radio Trust. Since the promulgation of the Broadcasting Services Act of 2001, which introduced for the first time legality to the idea of community radio broadcasting in Zimbabwe through reference to the three-tier broadcasting system comprising of public, commercial, and community broadcasting, ZACRAS has been advocating for the licensing of community radios so as to give a voice and accentuate existing ones in marginalized and underrepresented communities. The formation of ZACRAS was therefore premised on the need for a unified national advocacy platform for community radio initiatives and activists. This national advocacy platform, which is ZACRAS, had as its primary tasks seeking both the democratization of broadcasting and media-related laws, as well as pursuing a people-centered lobbying for the urgent licensing of community radio stations. Obviously, for us, it was very urgent, but for the powers that be at that time, it seemed like it wasn't, because it didn't happen as early and as urgent as we would have wanted. One reason or other would be given. ZACRAS therefore takes this opportunity to commend the Second Republic for taking visible steps in seeking to put to life the provisions of the BSA, which is the Broadcasting Services Act, including Section 61 and 62 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, which talk about access to information and freedom of expression respectively. This latest development also comes against the background of the licensing of the first campus radio, the Great Zimbabwe Campus Radio. While we remain alive to the fact that these are the first of the 10 community radios that are set to be licensed in what we hope to be the first phase, we continue to entreat the government of Zimbabwe through BARS to ensure that the broadcasting space is diversified in its entirety through the licensing of people-centered and community-rooted and owned community radios. Furthermore, we urge the government of Zimbabwe to ensure that the new licensees get all the technical and startup support that is needed to get the stations off the ground. As ZACRAS, we stand ready to partner and offer any support that may be needed as the country transforms the broadcasting sector. As ZACRAS as well, we however believe that the success of these...
So marvelous, that is Miss Pelagia Kapuya. She is with ZACRAS. So it's good news, really, that there are some radio stations that have been, licensed, and it has taken, years and years and years for this to happen. And we also have the program manager at Zakras, who actually issued his own kind of remarks. Let's hear what he says. And his name is Mr. Jerry Zimgwevu. He's the program manager. Here it comes.
Programs officer with Zimbabwe Association of Community Radio Stations. Lesi sehlakalo sokuthi uhulumende udlulisela i-Broadcasting Authority of Zimbabwe ukuthi banike izicoco zokusakaza kuma-community radio station siyasamukela kakhulu lezi zintathu esezinikiweyo lezi kuba kuvela mncintiswano esigabeni lapho abazasakaza khona. Siyakwamukela kakhulu, kuyinto enhle, kuyinto esiyibona izathuthukisa izigaba zethu ngoba kahle kahle vele umsakazo wemphakathini yona i-community radio ihlose ngathi ijonge ukuthuthukisa izigaba njalo siyakwamukela ngoba sokukhanya ukuthi imisakazo ayisahlali ingekahulumende kumbe ingeyabantu abalobudlelwano nohulumende. Sikhangela kakhulu Intebe eManama Community Radio Station eManama eGwanda abalilunga leZakras. Siyakujabulela lokho ngoba ngabantu esikwazi ukuthi ama-community radio imisakazo eqotho ephuma ebantwini, ayisiyo umhlobo wemsakazo ehlose ukuthi isetshenziswe kwezombangazwe. Njalo siyakhuthaza-ke ukuthi uhulumeni kaqhubeke enika izicoco emsakazweni engathi eqondileyo ukuthi ithole ngathi ngesilungu iyadiserva ukuthi ithole. Kuyabe kungasayi i-community radio nxa imisakazo ingaphiwa ama-license kumbe ubungane kwezombangazwe kumbe kwezamabandla, kodwa kayibe igxile emphakathini njengale Intebe eManama lalezi inyangane lezi eziphiwe. So siyathemba ukuthi akusinto esiphelele khathesi njengoba lezi ziphiwe ngoba akula mncintiswano, lezi eziseleyo nje eziyisikhombisa kube ama-community radios aqotho sibili angela udlamo angelekelanga kwezombangazwe kumbe kwezamabandla ayizombangazwe, kodwa aqonde ukuthuthukisa isigaba.
So there you are. Jerry Zimgwevu is very happy, marvelous, about what is going on. And we also have another gentleman, Tafatswa, who is a journalist based in Harare. Let's hear what he says about these community radio stations.
License amathathu since ukuqala kwe-independence 1980. Lokhu kusho ukuthi ngezinye indlela sicabanga ukuthi abantu sebengakwanisa ukuthi bezitshengisele njalo sebengakwanisa ukuthi bekhulume ngolimi lwabo abakwanisa ukuthi belusebenzise, okutshengisela ukuthi songakwanisa ukuthi la kubele ngani kule democracy, unlike ukuthi athi singakwanisa ukubona kulama-community radio stations iminyaka le edlulileyo. And njalo kuyakwanisa ukusinika imisebenzi kula abanye bethu abasakhulayo sebefuna ukuthi sithole imisebenzi kuleli ku-field le journalism, kodwa kuyabe kungela msebenzi, kodwa ngokuyenza kwama-community radio station lawo siyakwazi ukuthi songavulela abanye imisebenzi.
Thank you.
So, marvelous. It seems journalists are also happy. They think that jobs are coming now. You know, the meter is very tight, you know.
Yes, I think it's an early Christmas present. So they came at the right time, I think. And it would be interesting to just watch what's going to happen, because a lot of people have been crying foul about, community radios not getting these licenses. So let's watch and see what's going to happen.
And apparently Zimbabwe is the only country in Southern Africa, if I'm not wrong there, which didn't have community radio stations.
Really?
And yes, so if you look at the kind of, you research and go everywhere, you find that Zimbabwe did not have these community radio stations. There are so many in South Africa, there are over 100, community radio stations. And if you look at Lesotho, they're there. You go even to Botswana, there are some community radio stations. So normally what happens in Southern Africa is, the commercial radio stations are normally allocated to people who are close to the status quo. And then when you look at community radio stations, they also have that kind of thing, but a bit, leaning towards the community. So it's all how you play your game to get a license, So it's just something very exciting. So we still have got Mr. Musani Musontini. Maybe he can give us a take about these community radio stations. Mr. Ntini, what's your take on that?
I think it's a good thing, 40 years after independence. I think this should have happened maybe within the first few years after independence. As we talk right now, we're talking about COVID-19. People need, certain ways of knowing, how information reaches people. So by having these community radio stations, programs can be implemented where people in Cholocho, in Veja, in Gwanda, in Maswingo, in all these other remote areas, people can be reached and they can be provided awareness for programs such as COVID-19 or other programs that are important. Even during elections, I think if people can be reached through these community radio stations, it will only help the voters to be aware of the candidates and what they stand for. So this is a good thing, but we are hoping that these licenses were granted above board. Even myself, if I wanted one with my community, we had a chance to actually get it. Hopefully there wasn't any corruption involved in distributing these licenses.
So you can even speak in Ndebele so that you can reach other people there. Go ahead.
Yeah, ngombono wami ngibona ama-license la into enhle kakhulu ngoba lokho kuyatsho ukuthi umuntu oseveja esigodini, umuntu osecholocho langaphi ngala ama-community radio station bazakwaniseka ukuthi betholakale ngoba ungakhala isikhathi esiningi mina ngakhulele eveja esigodini ama-radio amaningi ayengangeni kwakumele wesihlale nxa uthatha iwaya uyefaka phezu kwesihlahla ukuze uradio 1 radio 2 radio 3 befike. So hopefully ama-community radios la ama-frequencies akhona ayafika endaweni eziningi, whether ngesikhathi sama-election abantu behlanganela ama-candidate khonapho kuma-radio, ngesikhathi se-COVID-19 kunje abantu betshelwe befundiswe ngendaba ze-COVID-19. So into enhle eyenzakeleyo. Siyathemba ukuthi wonke umuntu obelesifiso ukuthi athole i-radio station kumbe i-community adifisa uthole i-radio station batholile lethu.
Yeah, so tell people about your experience. You talked about something very, very critical here. The way you used to listen to radio at home. Describe it to people so that they will understand the importance of radio. So you were tearing wires and doing what?
So sometimes you have to tie a wire. You have to pretty much try to find a signal. Just like what people do now with the cell phones, you have to move from one corner of your house to another, or even go climb a mountain. So there were times that if you wanted to listen to Boso on a Sunday afternoon, sometimes we had to climb Okobambitsi or Terenere. These are the mountains in my area with your small radio so that you can get the radio frequency. Because in certain areas where it was lower, you couldn't get radio 1 or radio 2 or radio 3. So you had to be very creative to get the frequency when we were growing up.
When it rained, you wouldn't go on top of a mountain, right? When it was stormy and stuff like that.
No, when that happened, that meant you were not going to be able to listen to the radio that day.
Apo tiri kunzwa vabusani Ntini vari kutaura ivo pamusoro pekukosha kwakaita ma-community radio station. Tanga tambonzwa kubva kune vamwe vakapiwa marezinesi iwaya ema-community radio station uyezve nevatori venhau vari kuti vari kufara kuti hurumende yakapa mamwe masangano ari kuita ma-community radio station aya sezvo mabasa akuzomuka. Saka vantini vari kuti aiwa ma-community radio station akakosha nekuti ndiwozve anotepfenyura nyaya dzakadai se kana paine denda rakadai se-COVID-19 vanogona kutora nyaya idzi vachitepfenyura vachiisa kunzvimbo dzakasiyana-siyana, nyanya kumaruva. Vakataura zvakare kuti anoshandiswa zvakare munguva yesarudzo kuti vanhu vazive kuti vanoenda kunovhotera kupi nezvimwe zvakadaro. Saka ndokutaura kwavanga vari kuita.
And normally community radio stations shy away from politics in some countries, They don't say a lot of politics, but they concentrate on local issues like, tipping of cows and, all those kind of things, and health issues, developmental programs and so forth, and issues that affect people directly. So I think there is normally the role of community radio stations. So libazwile lapho abantu bekhuluma ngama-community radio stations, sizwile ke bekhuluma khona ngale zakras besithi lokhu kuyajabulisa ukuthi sokuzaba lama-community radio stations kwele Zimbabwe. Silethemba lokuthi bazabe broadcaster ngendlela yena leyo abacela ukuthi bayibroadcaste ngayo. So kustudio 7 sokule challenge la ukuthi nanko-ke ama-radio stations marvelous asengena emakhaya so thina sizakwenzani ngakho. On that note, I think we have to end our show here. We thank our guests this evening, Mr. Simba Mujuru of ZANU-PF, Mr. Busani Musontini, who is a Zimbabwean living in New York, Miss Vivian Nomalanga Pepe, who is in Israel, Mr. Tawanda Tsokora, who is here in USA as well. We thank all the people who also contributed to the show and those that actually sent us videos and audios. Signing off is Gibbs Tube in Maryland, saying good night, Zimbabwe.
I'd like to also thank all our guests who are here and those that are following with us. See you next year. This is actually my last broadcast this year. I'm going on vacation, so see you next year in January, God willing. And, have a very good Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Enjoy your holiday. Bye-bye.
Thank you.